a thought of mine that I shared a long ass time ago. And at the time, it was maybe a little bit more religiously centered, only because I wanted it to sound maybe a little more motivating and a little more flowing to what the situation was. I got asked to speak at a program one night. Some old acquaintances of mine had where they would go to various prisons and stuff like that, and would share religious views, and for whoever was interested in that kind of stuff, and they would take some sort of church-oriented band, and to play some sort of inspirational music. And so one day I went to one of these things because I got asked to speak at it. Basically, I stayed up quite a bit the night previous because whatever I was going to say, I didn't want to make it like a preaching of anything, even though it almost sounds like a sermon, but it's not. I didn't want to make it like a speech. I didn't want to make it like a sermon. I didn't want to make it like I was, trying to push anything on anyone. But what I did want was whatever little time I was going to get, I wanted it to count for something. I wanted, whatever little thought I was going to share, I wanted it to count for something. I wanted it, at the very least, have some sort of impact on these dudes' life, because they probably don't. I know for a fun fact that they don't get a lot of time out or a lot of time to feel motivated when they're confined to, four walls every single day of their life. And I know that firsthand. You go crazy looking at the same shit all day, every day, and only getting such a limited amount of leisure time. And basically you have to be babysat into not, stepping outside of a very strict, solidly drawn lines. And I wanted to make these guys' night, and really give them something that was going to be worth it. Like even if I didn't get a lot of time, I wanted to make a mark, not for my sake, not for the sake of being remembered for my face or my name or anything, but I wanted a good concept to be engraved into these people's lives. And so that being said, the topic was 3 names. Everybody has 3 names. Well, it's easy to say, well, that's really stupid. You have your first, your middle, and your last. Or in some cases, you have a first name and 2 last names without a middle name. Some people even have 4, some people just have 2. Whatever. Let's just simplify the shit. Let's not overthink it. We all have 3 names. Most people, it's a first, a middle, and a last. So that concept is simple enough. It's almost stupid to say that that's a concept, because it's so simple. There's not much to it. That's not a topic that sets anybody, that's not something that sets you apart or anything particular. In saying that, that's not at all what the big shebang of the speech is, but I kind of want to spend a little time talking about our actual given names. For instance, your first name, that's the thing that everybody's going to call you by, or at least most people, when you're in school and, people, your buddies call you out, you're such and such. And so that's your recognition name, I'm recognizing you. And so that's your first name. Your second name is a little more of a personalization, There might be, 10 Johns in one classroom, or 10 Tims in one workspace, or there might be, 20 different Jasons in, a fucking city. But how many of them share your middle name? So all of a sudden, it's a little more personalized. Or your last name is not just the one that definitely sets you apart, because I'll bet you more than anything, out of the 2 point whatever billion people there are in the world, I would imagine no more than maybe 3 or 4 of them have your exact same 3 names. And if you have 4, I'll bet you even less than that have the exact 4 names. So it's that much more personalized. And I bet you anything, a lot of you wouldn't even know who that other person is. Now, that'd be cool. I'm gonna go a little off topic. It'd be very cool if you went out of your way to find those people and get to meet them. Oh God, that sounds like a really good idea. You know, I've digressed. So, that being said, it's all about personalization. But your last name, however, is very special in that not only does it personalize you, but at the same time, it ties you to whatever your background is, as far as where and who you come from. What's the legacy? What's the thing you're kicking off from? You know, your last name is basically saying, well, this is your starting point. If you do nothing else related to who your family is or who your parents are or what the person before you was, well, at the very least, people will know where you started from. And then that will give a pretty good idea of how far you have come or where the direction changed or you know, it just... You know, it's a background summary per se, you know? When you think about your first, middle, and last name, or whatever the case may be, think about it that way. It's a good legacy, or at least it's a good sum up of who and where you're from and you know, what your starting points were. Now, getting to the big topic. All that I've been saying about your first, middle, and last name, or whatever your given names are, that's only your first name as far as this topic is concerned. First name is really just your given name, the name that your parents give you, the thing that everybody knows you by, everything we just talked about just now. That's your first name. You know, that's the name you are given. You know, whatever combination or plethora or group of names you are, that's you. However, the second name is a little bit different. The second name is what the world knows you by as far as your traits, as far as what the world thinks you are. First name is what the other humans that happen to be related to you gave you, and then the second name is the name that the world gives you as far as how the world views you. Unfortunately, it's completely, well, most of the time anyways, completely misguided. It's completely off in most cases. For a lot of the people in let's say Hollywood or mainstream media, everyone calls them stars or superstars or singer, artist, dancer, athlete, martial artist, podcast host, construction worker. You know, the list goes on and on. What the general population would recognize you as. And unfortunately, the most unfortunate thing about that name particularly is that we try to influence that so much. To be quite frank, most of the time we can't. We have no control over that. You know, I'd bet a lot of the fucking superstars out there, or a lot of the celebrities out there that are getting a bad rep, really were just setting out to be a role model, or were setting out to be history maker or a trademarker, and ended up getting branded as, you know, a junkie or a fucking loser or a uncontrollable person or unstable, or as it gets so misguided so quickly, it gets so distorted so quickly. And those of us who don't try to change it or don't try to change the course of it either don't give a shit or basically embrace it. And unfortunately, when that name is so fucked up and people are embracing it, I really would like to discourage that. When you're saying, well, this is what everybody views me as, that's what I'm gonna be. No. See, basically, to sum this one up, the second name is people's concept of you, people's impression of you. What, basically the thing that everybody thinks you're going to be remembered as, or what everybody's label of you is. And it's basically up to you to not be content nor conformed to that name. if the society is giving it to you, basically you're never going to reach a different level of life. You're never going to be able to see past the barricade and be able to reach the potential of the third name, which I'm going to explain to you right now. Now, is the second name useful? It could be, if you're smart about it, if you know how to use it right, if you know how to maybe not manipulate it, but use it to your advantage in order to make your gameplays in life. Now, your third name is basically, it could be one of two things. It can be the decision you make from a crucial point in your life, and it can be the decision of what you're going to do with the rest of your life. You know, what's going to be the upward push? What's going to be the turnaround? What's going to be the big, the big boiling point, the big bag ending at the end of the movie? The third name can be one of two things. It's either the name you give yourself, what you perceive yourself as, or what you want your image to be. Either that, or better so yet, those of you, rather I should say, those of us who are spiritual, and I'm not going to use the word religious, those of us who believe in spirituality, whatever our belief is, or whatever our higher power is, it's basically the new name we are dubbed once we fall into the lifestyle or the new path we are walking on. But here's the tricky part about it is, or the key thing that you have to remember is that it's not until you stop giving a shit about the second name, make your third name the prevalent thing that you chase in this life, that are you going to be able to be acknowledged by it. Because if you're worried about living life to be recognized by the second name, it's never going to work out. That's why the majority of people fail. That's why the majority of people never have a good reputation. If you're keeping up with these things, then, with these podcasts, I want you to keep the word reputation in your mind, and later on when I start expanding on what I perceive as that word, then, you can comment on what it signifies to you. But the reason the majority of people don't have a good reputation is because they're so busy on trying to create an image, trying too hard. They're giving the second name way too much importance. You shouldn't give your second name that much importance, if any at all. Because once your third name, once you centralize the third name, only then not only is it going to be real, not only is it going to be, not only are you not going to have to pretend to be something you're not, or try and give off what you think people want to see, but it's going to be a full embodiment of who you are, of what you want to be, what you're shooting for. There's nothing fake about it. When you're trying to play the role of what you think is right or what you think is cool, it's so transparent, and nobody likes that shit. Nobody likes the artificial role, so to speak. If you're true to yourself, if you follow a journey that it's true to you, that you don't have to fake anything, oh man, it just ends up working out so well for everybody. You can be yourself, you can be what you are, who you are. That's what the spectators per se want to see, want to witness. In a way, there's what everybody sees and what everybody wants to see. And forget about the haters, forget about, the critics. There's people out there who just don't know what they want to see. There's the same bored ass people that will talk shit about you and not know when to stop, and no matter what you do, nothing positive ever escapes their their mind nor their mouth. So fuck them, forget about that. But there's the people who care about you. They want to see the real you. They care about you. They want you to embrace that state of you, which is, you know, basically everything we just described as the third name. They want to see you living by the third name. They want to see that potential lifestyle incarnated within you. Everything is so embedded in you, you know, everything from the first name to the second name to the third name and all the other stuff in between. But it's basically, it's your choice what you're going to let out, what you want people to see. And until you start living for yourself or for your higher power or for your spirituality, or, you know, the list goes on and on, only until then are you going to start seeing the reaction you've been meaning to get. And man, did it take me a long ass time to get there, because there's so much of me that had to really be broken down. There was so much about me that didn't change until I was taken to the very bottom of the pit and just dragged across the very floors of it. And it's not fun. Instead of being humbled into that situation or into that scenario, I would just start living by what you want, by the form of life that will incarnate you as what your true potential is. Whatever it is, whatever it is, like everything from your career to your passions to your desires. And I guess if you wanted to put it a certain way, do you want to chase a career that pleases your parents or pleases society, or do you want to chase the career that's be its own riches per se? And we've talked about that before. You know, basically, what's gonna make you happy 50 years from now? Are you gonna look back and are you going to be a miserable old bastard that's complaining about his life all the time, and it's gonna make you miserable in your family because you're not doing what you love? Or are you gonna struggle for a little bit, or you're gonna struggle for a few years to pursue your passions and your path, but know at the very end that at the very least your heart is happy, that at least you're happy doing what you're doing? That's what it's all about. You know, if you take that concept and apply it to your life, what more do you want? That's what the three names are, you know. Your first name is who are you, you know, your given name. What were you named? What are people acknowledging you by? And your second name, what is society acknowledging you by? What do they know you as? Unfortunately, it's hardly ever a good thing. Because best case scenario, society knows you by your job or by your career or by something that you do. And nobody gives a shit about that. Well, at least you shouldn't. Best case scenario, it's worker or deficient, untrendy. Oh God, that sounds so depressing. Well, let me shoot some really harsh ones at you. Lazy, unethical, criminal. Fuck me. Look at it. Like, who wants to spend their time dwelling on that shit? Like, no, come on, man. And then your third name is, you know, it doesn't. And here's another cool thing about the third name. It has nothing to do with your path. Every day you could renew the name and live by it. One day it could be lost, the next day it could be found, the next day it could be redeemed, the next day it could be helpful, the next day it could be leader, and you know, and it keeps escalating, and then you decide every day what is it going to be. Is it going to be one thing for a long time and you're just going to chase that? Or you know, that's a really good thing, you know, set one big ass goal and then go for it. Or is it going to be one thing at a time, you know, live one day at a time and keep upping the ante every single moment of your life? Holy smokes, then you know you're really gonna get high, because every day there's just gonna be something higher to shoot for. And so that, my friends, that is the spiel of the three names.